Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Oh,
Secondary ed fellow is here, whoever was asking that.
is this yours, Christine?
Yes.
All right. I got to go to his presentation. I was, but I went to the wrong place.
Okay, because I thought it was here.
Well, first to Stanger, then to Gordon. So I just found out what the main purpose of today is. The main purpose of this presentation is to answer questions. But I'm going to start out with an overview of the School of Education, and there are 6 departments in the School of Ed. Give you an overview of that. So the real meat of what you're going to want to know is going to be in separate sessions later. My name is John Ward. I'm chair of the Educational Foundations Department, and I'll also be doing I'll be doing the secondary ed talk a little bit later for anybody here in secondary ed? Okay, good. Secondary ed's a little confusing because you really want to go to the main content area that you'd be majoring in, or your child would be majoring in. But the secondary ed talk will also help to kind of put the 2 pieces together. Christine Anthony is here, and she is the chair of the
Elementary, early childhood.
Chair of the Elementary and Early Childhood Department. I paused there a little bit because a year or 2 ago we changed our programs in keeping with PD regulations. And now they're really early childhood and middle level. But hard to change the name. I guess that's been there for 100 years or so. Right. This is the School of Education Stayer building. 3 of the departments that are in the School of Education are located in this building. All three programs that are focused strictly on teacher education are in this building: Educational Foundations, Elementary Education, and Special Education. As we go through here, you'll see more about the other programs. We are a little bit of a broad school because we have teacher education. And I'm a teacher educator, so I tend to think of teacher education as our mission, but actually we're much broader than that. The School of Education also encompasses psychology, so all psychology undergrads and a lot of general education courses in psychology come through the School of Education. The Industrial and Technology Department is part of the School of Education, and Sports and Wellness is part of the School of Education. So we have to have some things that bring us together as a unit, and that's our mission here. And we've had lots of good conversations about our mission. But as you read that mission statement, or this actually is the mission statement, this is something called a Wordle. ever seen a Wordle before? Understand? It's kind of a cool toy that you can go on the internet. What you can do is submit any document to it. And it does some kind of a content analysis of the document and counts up how many times each word is in the document. And then if the word is in the document more, it becomes bigger. And so we were in the school of ed, we were kind of trading around documents and using them in Wordle at one point in time. And so what we would do is we'd write a syllabus for a course, and then we'd put the syllabus in in Wordle and see what it is we were actually saying to students, what's the main message that was coming through. And I once had the experience that I was writing a syllabus for a course, and I put it into this Wordle, and the key word that popped up was lesson. And because there was a lot of lesson planning things in the course that I was doing. And I realized, well, that's not what I want to emphasize. I want to emphasize the point of the lesson, which is learning for students. So then I reread my syllabus, and I realized that I was emphasizing kind of the products and the process and not the purpose, so then I rewrote my syllabus. So anyways, that's a long way of saying that's how this was created, and the words that are prominent should represent, if we've done it well, what we value. So when you look at this, what are the key words that pop up to you? School. So this is our mission. It doesn't necessarily represent our philosophy. This is more like what the state has given us a mission to do. And this is our mission, primarily. Preparation of professionals. And some of the things that we care about are represented in here, but this is much more of a mission statement. So we're really about a school of developing professionals. That's our main goal. Right, here's our the short synopsis of our mission statement. To assume the role, identity, and responsibilities of a professional. And that's actually, that pretty much well says what it is. I think my purpose here at Millersville is, for those people that are in teacher education, we view teacher education as a developmental process where you start out thinking of yourself as a student, but then as you progress through the program, you're no longer a student. We don't think of you as a student, we think of yourself as a teacher, and you become a teacher. So that word identity, the goal of our preparation program, for teachers at least, is for students to, by the end of the program, not think of yourself as a student anymore, but to actually think, I am a teacher. And that's the essence of our mission. That's kind of long. Since the main purpose here is to answer questions, I'm not going to read through that. All right. Well, we're quite proud of our national affiliations and our national accreditations because we should be, and because we spend a whole lot of time and effort making sure that we do well on these. The key one up here for teacher education is NCATE, and that's an umbrella organization for every accreditation in teacher education, whether it's mathematics or early childhood, whatever it is. And Millersville has had NCATE accreditation since 1954 when they first started doing it. It is a market distinction. I personally am an NCATE examiner, so I go to other universities and do accreditation visits. And it is a differentiator between those universities that are really professional and systematic in their preparation programs and those that may not have that kind of systematic process. And then a number of other, AACTE is also teacher education, and then there's a few more specific ones here, but actually, a couple of the big ones there represent 26 different accreditation organizations. We're accredited in just about everything you could possibly think of. Name up there is the National Association for Multicultural Education, so that one has a little bit different focus. It's not program specific. this isn't my presentation, but it's kind of a cool little, there. I come from an instructional technology background. I would never put a little walking guy on there. All right, organizational structure of our school. Administration, which would be the dean and the associate dean, and her department. Also the field experience office, which is a major kind of a part of our program, all of our programs, the field experience, and that's operated through the main office. And then here's the 6 programs in our school. So I think this would be a good time for me to stop and see where you guys are, what some programs you guys are going into. How many early childhood folks here? Right, that's quite a few. And Dr. Anthony and I are going to make a decision in a few minutes about how we're going to, if you're going to come up and do it, or do you have a separate presentation?
Well, I wanted to ask, I was asked to be here at this session, but is there a session on your schedule later in the day specifically for the allied department for early childhood or middle level?
No?
Oh, I was afraid that they were about to ask me to be somewhere.
Secondary. Only secondary.
Okay, but I do have some specific information for anybody who's early childhood, and how about middle level? And then we'll just break out.
Okay.
But we'll see who else is here.
All right, but you can maybe just take this from you already were set up to do it. Because I'm sure the early childhood and middle level people will have a lot of specific questions. As will the secondary ed folks. I already asked about secondary ed, which is Educational Foundations, is the education home to everybody that's in secondary ed, 7 through 12, and some in K-12. And industry and technology, any of those folks here? Okay. Is there an industry and technology session that you're going to today? All right, I can answer a few questions. Better not look enough to know some things that I even know, not my area, but I might be know that. Yeah. All right. Psychology undergrad. And just so you can understand our organization here, the reason psychology is part of the School of Education is because of the school counseling and school psychology programs with the initial programs that place them in the School of Education. Special education.
And for those of you in special education, because the certificate is dual, when the early childhood and middle level folks probably stay here, you can stay with them.
And Dr. Anthony, it's fair to say that you know quite a bit about special education as well.
So I think I can answer some of those questions.
And wellness and sports science. Probably I wouldn't expect any because wellness and sports science doesn't have its own majors. But they do a lot of general education work, and they have a master's program for, and they have some coaching courses where you get a minor in coaching. And a lot of people do that, and it's a good thing to do. All right, I'll just let you look at this for a second, then I'll comment on a couple of points. So that first statistic up there, about 98% of Millersville faculty have what we call terminal degrees, it's a PhD or an educational doctorate, or in some fields, Master of Fine Arts is the highest you can go. So in those fields where whatever is the highest that somebody can go, that's what Millersville faculty have, and 98%. We're by far the tops in the SHE system in that statistic. We are probably one of the the most selective school in the SHE system, and our faculty also, I think, we're probably the most selective and rigorous in our hiring process. And some of the stats about our faculty would represent that. I can speak for the teacher education programs that everybody that's hired in teacher ed has to come from some kind of practical background in teaching. And we all stay active in schools as well. I probably wouldn't go to any parties and start citing the statistics and bragging, but as far as bragging goes, the one that I would brag about here is our retention rate. Then, if you wouldn't have necessarily a benchmark to judge that, but that's a very, very high retention rate as far as higher education goes. Millersville does extremely well on that statistic generally, and the School of Education is a little bit higher than the university. And to me, the reason that I would brag about that is because people tend to stick with a school if they're happy there. Not necessarily, wouldn't necessarily be an indicator of something specific, but if a student feels comfortable at the school, feels like they're taken care of, feels like they're headed in a good direction, and is not being, just content thrown to the wolves where that they might flunk out in the first year, then their retention rates are going to be high. And Millersville is very high in that area, so it's a really good sign of the quality of our programs. And I would say the quality of our faculty, and in that our faculty really care about the students. I would say most of the faculty, and it's really coming from my heart here, that most of the faculty, anytime a student has a problem, they really go above and beyond in working with the student, being available to students beyond office hours. I'd pretty much say that for everybody that I work with. That last point there, excellent customer service, that's something the dean would say. I would never say that. I don't think of students as customers. I think of them as students. So that's more of an administrative perspective, and I think the faculty would not think that way either. It's much more of a kind of a personal relationship, I would say, that faculty try to have with students. Christine, you're not going to tell the dean that I'm trashing, so.
I'm taking notes.
All right.
I don't know. I agree.
So there's our teacher education programs, which we already talked briefly about. And for those of you that are secondary ed, these are the areas that I would be dealing with. And I don't see foreign language up there, but Educational Foundations also serves foreign language students. All right, how about these areas that just came up, the K-12s? Anybody here from those areas? Okay, what are you?
Art education.
Art education. Okay, so you are kind of like high-tech, where both of those are K-12. And honestly, we don't have a lot. We have 2 courses that the art ed majors take, and they're really in the program. But they have their own art ed education classes, as does industry and technology. All right, we're more of the teacher ed. All right, I'll talk about some of these programs for secondary ed majors. But one of the main point here is that there are a lot of opportunities for students to get involved in organizations and special opportunities. The second one up there, science majors, professional development schools network. Actually, it's bigger than that now, and there are some professional development school partnerships that are coming out of elementary education. What a professional development school is a very close relationship between the university and a particular school. And in the science one, which now is actually science and English, and will soon be science, English, and social studies, I hope, it's where students have, instead of just a brief professional experience before student teaching and then a student teaching experience, it's more like a full year-long experience and a much closer relationship between the university and the school, which is something we value, I think, in general in the school that is extensive field experiences. So we're trying to get more and more of these professional development school relationships developed. We do have a faculty member who is in the Educational Foundations Department, who's quite a technology expert and advocate, and we have quite a bit of opportunities in that regard. Oh, and the Color of Teaching there, I don't know why that's yellow, but Color of Teaching is a organization, student organization that's extremely active. They go to 2 or 3 national conferences a year. They go to several state conferences a year. And our Millersville Millersville students. They could be students of color, or there are also some students that are not students of color that are part of it. Are mentors to students mostly from urban districts and mostly from the school district of Lancaster who want to come to Millersville and be teacher educators. And they have all kinds of events all through the year. It's a very, very active organization. Well, that word admission may seem kind of weird because all of you represent, are all people who have been admitted, right, to Millersville, right? But according to the state, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, you're not actually in a teacher education program officially according to the state until you reach some certain benchmarks. Now you're in your major, so I'm not trying to say that you're not in the program, but you officially, according to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, come into the program when you meet certain benchmarks. And these are those benchmarks. So at Millersville, you have to have a 3.0 at some point in the program. You check to see if you have that grade point average. You have to have completed 2 math courses. You have to take a literature course. So you'll hear this a lot of times, but sometimes people don't get the message as well as they should. So when you have to take a humanities course as part of general education, you should make sure that English Lit is one of the humanities courses you take. Otherwise, you'll end up taking an extra course. And these other courses. Should we watch this video?
How long is it?
Looks like something from Hogwarts.
I'm kind of scared to click it. Seen this video before. All right, we won't watch it. It looks kind of interesting. I'm just kind of captivated by the fact that we have a video this old, which would show you kind of the history of Millersville, and I think in large part Millersville started out as a teacher education institution and still our strength. So the fact that that's either an old video or one made to look like an old video, I'm not sure which it is, would kind of highlight that fact that that's what Millersville is known for. People outside the School of Education don't like that, but that's true. Okay, so when you're a student, you get assigned an advisor. If you're a secondary ed student, you get assigned 2 advisors, one in your content area, so a math major, we get a math advisor, but also somebody in the Ed Foundations department. I'm not sure if you're aware of how our advisement, kind of how students are required to be in advisement is that they get a PIN number each semester and they can't register for their classes until they go see their advisor. And the advisor gives them a PIN number, and that kind of assures that students will come and see them. For the first semester of college, that you're assigned your courses, so that's not such an issue, but soon into the middle of the fall semester, the advisement period will start, and then you'll go see your advisor and start working on your second semester classes. The last thing on here that I want to highlight are what we call our DARS system. It's an online system where whatever your major is and whatever classes you've taken, you go into it at any point in your career, it'll print out a report of what you've taken, what you have to take still. So most advisors would want their advisees to already come into that advisement meeting with, here's my plan, here's my DARS, here's what I've done, here's what I think I'm going to do, what do you think? If a student comes to me and says, I just don't know what to take, well, it might actually be a very productive conversation because I can ask what they're interested in and so forth. But really, if I'm going to help somebody, it helps if they kind of have a direction first, and then I can kind of then ask them why they're thinking of that, and then maybe give them with some different ideas if I see anything that pops into my head about what might be better for them. All right, and if you get through the next 4.5 years or 4 years, you can go into one of our master's programs. All right, we want to get to the questions. So, what questions do you have at this point? Holding probably the ones for elementary ed. And well, until, what questions that you would have, just generally about the school day?
My daughter went to a one-year community college and she's transferring into Millersville.
Yes.
She had several questions and didn't know where to go, who to turn to. And she asked for an advisor, and she said that she was told she still doesn't have one. She really could use one now to say what her steps should be.
And does she have a major that she's going into?
Or,
Art education.
Art education. Okay.
when will these advisors?
I'm not sure when they're going to be. Does anybody else have an advisor yet?
We're running into the same problem. We're running into a lot of vagaries, not being told, we can't decide all these things, and you want us to be prepared when they come to you, and we can't give them the information. That's kind of like, that's for secondary education as well.
Okay. Well,
That's our
Rick,
fear.
yeah, okay. Let me take the art education first. The person that I would tell you to try to get in touch with is Jerry Robinson. That's it's a woman, Jerri Robinson.
She was in touch with her, so
Okay.
that wasn't her assigned advisor.
Often transfers don't have assigned advisors, but they're directed to the department chairs.
Okay, thank you.
And your secondary ed?
They will coming from high school, just trying to find out the requirements for the degree, trying to figure out how to choreograph the next 4 or 5 years, because there's the BSc and there's the bachelor's in educational. You can do it either way, trying to find out what the best options and opportunities are.
Okay. Well, I'd like to get into that more specifically when we have the secondary ed section.
Okay.
But as far as
Social studies is very one.
okay, so you want to be a social studies teacher, it's BSc. You can go BA, but then wouldn't be getting a teaching certification. But in that program, actually, I know quite a bit about it now. I'll be glad to go into it.
For psychology, will she be assigned a psychology advisor?
Yes.
Or will we have to be a psychologist?
Yes, absolutely.
Our daughter right now is undeclared, but she knows she wants to go into early education / special education. Does she have to wait until she's in her first semester in order to apply to get
She has to have 15 credits completed.
complete?
Yeah, we just actually passed that, it was different before. 15 credits completed before we can act on her application. But she can stop by as soon as she gets to campus, the special education departmental office, and start filling out the packet of forms. But she has to complete her first semester before any action will be taken on her application.
So she can complete it, hand it in.
And then she'll get a packet of information that says, you have to do this, 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 and this. And once these are done, and you have 15 credits completed, and you met the GPA requirements, then the department chair will make the decision.
What program did you say she wants to go into?
The
She wants to
dual.
be the dual
Wants
early
to be dual,
education.
okay.
Now, would that put her a semester behind? Because she's already going to be here for 4.5 with dual.
Hopefully not. Hopefully the courses that she's getting from the registrar, they're pretty good about putting them in things that they are going to need. And typically they put them in general education requirements. It may be an intro level course. In her case, it'll be probably be all general education requirements. The other piece of advice I might have is once she gets her schedule for fall semester, contacting the special education office, because they advise all the dual early childhood special ed, and say, this is what I have, is this a good schedule for me?
Okay, other questions before Dr. Anthony here? Yes.
She had mentioned the schedule. When should the students expect to receive their fall schedule?
I don't know, but I think that might be right.
All your classes are already predetermined for the first semester, but depending on it does not matter what your major is going to be as to what classes you're going to need.
It does. For instance, I can only speak for my department, but in our department, we're offering 3 intro courses for the early childhood students. So there's 3 sections of that. In each of those sections, there are 20 seats saved for incoming freshmen. So my sense is, do you have any intro courses at all in your secondary ed state? No. But when the registrar plans schedules for the incoming freshmen, they're fully aware of what their majors are.
But like, from my son for history, but secondary education, he has to be undeclared. That's what he was told, because they didn't have a place to put him as a major for secondary education.
That doesn't sound right to me. I'll talk about that. But if you're an exploratory student, meaning undeclared, you would be set up with classes, general education classes in your first semester. Everybody has to take pretty much the same outlay of general education classes. And so hopefully if you decide sometime in your first year that you're taking general education classes, depending on the major you're going into, it won't set you far behind, or won't set you behind at all.
He knows what he wants to do, he just kept things.
Some programs that are highly sequential, like physics comes to mind, and actually elementary ed comes to mind. Then you have to really be in the right course right from the start. But most programs, general education, will serve an exploratory student as well.
Is it too late to declare their major right now?
I think it is. I'm not positive. That would be a really good question for admissions. But I think once you're accepted, and you either get accepted into your major or you're accepted as undecided, it could be a program decision, because like in our department, you can't change your major into early childhood or middle level until you have 15 credits completed. So your child's in psychology, thinking about
She
changing?
she hasn't declared yet, but she wants to declare psychology.
Okay, okay.
So,
Psychology is one of those programs that if she's in general education, she'll be fine.
And then the advice would be, early on, go to the psych department.
Yeah, and the change of major, in some majors is more difficult than others, but most of them it's not very difficult. It's just a matter of getting a form signed by the advisor or the chair. Elementary is a little bit different.
Yes, elementary has lots of hoops. If you want to change it to
All right.
elementary.
Granted?
Well, I have a PowerPoint, but I would rather answer some questions if you have questions about the early childhood and middle level programs and or special education. Do you want to take the other group or?
Sure.
Because we're almost kind of getting close to time. But it's up to you what you want to do.
I'll take the secondary ed. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right. And the art ed and the ag ed. Before you go too far, let me walk ahead of you and find out where we're going.
Yes, middle level, the middle level program, the early childhood program, and the dual early childhood special ed.
When you get it.
When? 3 days.
Been having fun.
Okay. I think if you have questions, it's the best way to start, because I want to make sure you know what you need to know before your child gets here. If you don't have questions, I've got some more information I can share with you that's a little more specific than the school ed information.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you know why, because I understand for my son changing his major, because he was going to teach high school, but then he found out that all the schools were having this middle level. Do you know why that they differentiated and made a middle level?
I can give you a little background on that. That comes out of the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It actually has funneled down from the No Child Left Behind legislation. And one of the criteria for that legislation that elementary, middle level, and high school public schools have to show is that they're hiring highly qualified teachers. And so to help them meet that highly qualified teacher mandate, they have separated out the larger certifications into smaller, more focused areas. Secondary ed is still right now 7 to 12 though, and the middle level is 4 to 8. So depending upon what your child wants to teach, if they're still thinking 7th and 8th grade, maybe I'll stay with secondary ed. But my guess is when schools are hiring, we're gonna look for the 4 to 8 because that's that more focused area, or the middle level. They're gonna be more usable to the district in terms of being their highly qualified mandate.
When we were here for a campus visit, we sat in on a lecture from one of the education chairs, and my daughter is enrolled for middle education, but they talked with us in that meeting that choosing a specialty area such as math or English was going to be of benefit, which she's going to do that. But is that an automatic part of that curriculum?
Yes.
So it's nothing we have to kind of proactively.
She has to pick an area.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, and then once she picks her area, her major would be, what did she pick?
English.
So it's middle level English.
Okay.
And
Alright.
so, and then I will eventually be assigning her advisor, and we have a couple faculty that I'm sending all the middle level English kids to, so that, and there are some of our literacy faculty, so
Okay.
that she'll be well advised, because they know that program the best. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
For the early childhood program, when do you start in the education classes? Are they the second semester or freshman year? Or?
Hopefully, well, 60 of the incoming freshmen, and there are 90 of them, will be in the intro course, the intro to early childhood course, fall semester. And then if they don't get a seat in the fall, they'll have it spring semester.
Now, how about somebody who is coming in undeclared but knows they're going to pick that as the major? You said they need 15 credits. Would it be a possibility to get in that class second semester
Yes,
then?
that's what we would try our hardest to do, because
Like just kind of assuming they'll
Yeah.
meet grade point average and get in
yeah,
to the major.
and sometimes we'll wait for the grades to come in after the first semester, and then when is your daughter? Is it a daughter or a son?
Yeah, she's considered undeclared right now, but she knows she's this as a
If
major.
she's probably going to have to register for spring semester, not knowing yet.
Okay.
She won't be able to take that, register for that course. But what happens then after she gets admitted is I go in and do overrides. If
Okay.
there's seats in those classes, I put those new admits right into that intro course.
Okay, so they shouldn't get behind at all then?
They shouldn't.
Okay.
I'm gonna say shouldn't, but I know you know we have some budget issues. And for fall semester, I had to cut 8 courses out of the schedule. We're waiting until July 1st to see what actually happens with the budget, how much they're gonna cut us. And one of the side effects of that is our classes are bursting at the seams because of having to cut back. But our goal is to get everybody done in that first year with an intro course, because that is a prerequisite for things that follow.
Is that really all that a student would be taking in the freshman year, even if they took it the fall semester?
If they took it in the fall semester, the second semester, there are other education courses they could take. It would be a mix of a couple education and gen eds. But we have a four-year sequence where a couple of the semesters could easily flip. Our goal is by the time they get to their junior year, especially the second semester of junior year, the 5 semesters before they have completed
A certain
all the
number
things that
of
need to be
courses.
done. And then once they get to that second semester of junior year, is when we start what's called the professional blocks, and they're block courses. And they'll have 3 semesters of block courses. And everything in those 5 semesters before that just need to be completed. There isn't
A set order that
right.
they had to be done.
Which is why it's real important to get that intro course in the first year, because that's a prereq for all the other education courses. when I have to, you know, I've had to go in and manipulate some things at times, and we'll let them take that intro course sometimes at the same time as another one of the courses, if that's the only way we can do it, to get them through in time. But that's one thing the advisor checks with them. Every time they come in to advise, they look at the timeline to make sure they're still on track, and make sure they haven't decided to take something that they really don't need. Or it's surprising how many students register. After they move with their advisor, they get their PIN number, and then they just pick classes that make no sense. And then sometimes you don't catch that until you see them the next time. Yes?
For the early education and special ed dual major, how do the classes work for that? Like, who would be your advisor? Would it be someone with special ed, or how does that work?
All of the advisors for the dual special ed early childhood are coming out of the special ed department. And there is considerable overlap in terms of the courses between just the straight early childhood and the early childhood special ed. So as a dual, that's what we call them, the special ed early childhood. You'll have lots of classes with just the straight early childhood folks, like the intro course is the same. But then there are some of the courses that the early childhood folks take that you will take different special ed courses. But there is significant overlap. And I actually get, if the special education chair isn't around, like in the summer, our faculty are on 9-month, we're on 9-month appointments. We officially don't work in the summer. So if you've been trying to get a hold of faculty in the summer and you haven't been able to, that's probably why. But if the special ed chair is out and someone needs to see or find out something about that dual program, they refer them to me and vice versa. We kind of know the programs pretty well. Yes?
The criminal background check, when should they start doing that?
They should do them this summer. If they're in that intro course in fall semester, they have to have their clearances in, because that first semester they'll have a field placement. And if you haven't, you'll be getting a packet of information. Have you received that? Anybody might send you? They'll send you all the information you need about where to go to get the clearances and how to get them and what you have to get.
How long does that take them?
It's pretty fast now. I think most people get everything with, like, from start to finish, it's 4 weeks. The most important thing to tell your child is when they get them, to bring them to campus and take them to our early field experience office in our education building. They have to be in, and the field experience office has to mark that they've been in. They'll make a copy of them. But until we have it that they've been checked in and they have them, they can't go out and do any of their field. If they can't go out and do their field in the intro course, that's an automatic failure in that course.
They have to bring them, or
They have to bring them. They physically have to bring the copies to campus with them. And when they go out to the field, they have to physically carry them with them, because we have schools that will stop them at the door to see them. Even though Millersville is guaranteed, there are some school districts that are very cautious and will not let anybody in the door unless they actually show them the piece of paper.
they would do that at orientation? Bring the papers to the.
Yes, when they come to campus, yes, so orientation, or the first week of classes. You will be getting a letter of the details, everything, if your child is in the education departments. For the undecided, the Millersville Education website has a link about the clearances. It would be good to get that started, because like if she gets in and second semester I put her in the intro course, I can't put her in unless the clearances are in.
When you say bring, can they bring a copy, or do they need to bring the original?
They need to bring the original.
Because she had it already done because of her summer job, but.
They have to be 30 days or less.
30 days.
No, that's wrong. Well, when you get a first summer job, she'll be fine.
Yeah, because she just got it.
Yes, she'll be fine.
But I
She'll
think she
keep
might
them.
be into the original now, trying to get it back.
Okay. The schools will want to see an original, probably. And then once you get them done, the law says really you have to get them redone every year. We have an agreement with the school districts around here that when the students turn them in as freshmen or as transfer students, they can keep the same clearances until they student teach. And then when they student teach, they have to redo them. So they don't have to redo them every year as a student. If you were, as a teacher, they do have to do them every year. Yes.
And
Yeah.
when they got those, when would we get those?
It must be sometime in July, because I know when I start class, I historically have taught the intro course. Not this semester though, but usually I do. When I start class at the end of August, most kids have them in. So you must be getting that information soon, yes.
Only one clearance comes via mail anymore. The other one's online for you to print out, and the FBI one has the number, so Millersville or the school district can check to see that it is valid.
That's a really field experience office jurisdiction, but I know, we've had kids left out and they don't have the one piece of paper, but it's forward then, I guess, if it's an email. Will you print the email and bring it?
Right, I printed, but you're not going, that's what bothered me. Mine are pieces of paper that came in the mail, so I could bring you my
Right.
originals, which would be outdated for you. When we did it for my daughter, you printed it out and said, this is not technically an original. It's not gonna look any different than if I made a copy.
Did they accept it?
I just sent it into the field experience offices
accept
here.
No, if that's what they're doing now, they'll accept it. All the most recent, because I don't really deal with the clearances, I only know what I know from talking to students and other faculty in the field office. There is on the School of Education website, there is a link that tells you the detail, exactly the process for the field experiences. But the takeaway point is get the process started as soon as you get that information in the mail, so your child can go out and do their first field experience in the fall.
And something else, I understand they get backed up this time of year because of the graduates too, who need it for
Who need their new ones.
jobs
Yeah.
in the fall. So.
Yeah, it can be, it used to take a long time to get the FBI clearances through. That process has been quite expedited.
You knew within days.
Yeah. It used to be a real long process. Anything else? The first set of praxis tests, the PPST is what they're called, basic math, reading, and writing. They will be counseled to take as early in their program as possible. That's the PPST Praxis 1. They need to have that done and completed before they can move up to what we call the Advanced Professional Studies, which is where they start to move into the courses that are sort of blocked together. They're the higher level courses. That's by the 5th semester, they'll be starting those blocks of courses. And you have to be admitted to the APS, or Advanced Professional Studies. We suggest within their first year they do the PPST, the first round of praxis tests. The PPST can be taken traditionally paper and pencil, or you can do it online, like at a Sylvan Learning Center. You can call and set up a time, and your child can go and take them online. And then the nice thing about online is you get your math and your reading scores back immediately to know if you passed. It takes them a while to grade the writing because they read it, which is a good thing before they grade it. ETS.org, Educational Testing Service. ETS.org is the name of is the website for the organization that has written and implements the praxis exams. And on that website, there will be the dates, registration dates, testing sites, and also the online vendors they use, the places you can go if you want to take the online version. And then after the praxis one, that you're not done yet, you still have, you will have your specialty area. So if you're early childhood, you'll have to take praxis 2, early childhood. And you'll have to take a praxis 2 that is fundamental subjects content knowledge, which is general knowledge. So with that one, it will be, do you know your basic math, science, social studies, literacy? Like, do you know the basic? And that one we recommend taking around in your junior year, pretty much after you have all of your general education requirements done. You've had that nice liberal arts background, and you're almost ready to start your professional, your APS. So you take the fundamental subjects, content knowledge, and then during your student teaching semester, you typically will take your specialty area practices. So it would be early childhood, it would be middle level, and as of, well, I guess since I've been here, well, I keep in Millersville in 2001. The early childhood praxis has 100% pass rate. Our students have, no one has ever failed since I've been here. Not that there's a correlation, but I like to tell myself there is, but there's not. I'm an early childhood specialist. That's my main field. The middle level is new. Okay, there isn't a middle level, I mean, there is a middle level praxis, but the state of Pennsylvania is rewriting all the tests. So I'm telling you all this, but by the time your child gets to that point to take the test, they're going to be different tests than they are now. But we will keep them well informed. Now that we have the new programs in place, now they're going back and rewriting all the tests. And there's new acronyms for them and new names for them. And the PPST, the basic skills, Praxis 1 is going to be called the PAPA. But your kids will take the Praxis 1, and that is good for 10 years, because the PAPA isn't ready yet. But if they get to the point where they're ready for Praxis 2, and the new tests are available, they'll take the new tests. But again, the advisor, the department will keep them, everybody well informed of those changes. Anything else? One other thing that wasn't on, what time is it? I don't want to go over my desk if I have no places to go. Okay. That wasn't on the PowerPoint that Dr. Ward showed you is we actively assess every student's professional dispositions. So our accrediting bodies want us to show them that every undergraduate and graduate student at Millersville University that is a teacher education candidate has the values, the beliefs, the habits that are befitting someone who is going into this profession. And so we have created something called the Professional Dispositions Checklist. And that can also be accessed on the School of Education website. But essentially every student comes in and they're given it's a 4-point scale of 3, does well with dispositions. And what it looks at are professional communication, how well the students are interacting with children in the school settings. When we talk about attitudes and beliefs, we're talking about, do the students believe all children can learn? And we would see that in a placement setting. Are they interested in children? Do they seem like they want to be around young children or middle-level children? Professional behavior, we're pretty heavy on the whole idea of when you're in a school setting especially, you need to behave as a professional. So we have dress codes, we have requirements for specific things you can and cannot say and do. And then we also look at ethical and responsible behavior. So, for instance, if none of your children will do this, but if somebody cheats on an exam in a class, that goes against our ethical and responsible behavior disposition. And so the professor of record talks to the student. They put into the system that the student has violated one part of the disposition statement. And nothing happens right away. The student is invited to a meeting with the chair, which would be me, the professor, and talk about the situation. And then if it is warranted, after there's a couple dispositions filed, the ranking might go from a 3 to a 2. But your children will be getting lots of information about what types of things are expected of them in terms of the dispositions. And we keep an electronic record of everybody, and it's actually a nationally recognized system that we developed in Millersville, and is we're asked to share it at a lot of conferences, but most of what we want to know is that they're behaving like young professionals in the field, and all that that entails. And we have to show, I mean, we've always known we've been doing it, but we have to show the accrediting bodies that we're doing it. And I just was filling out our annual report, because it is getting close to July 1st. And just in terms of the faculty in the early childhood and middle level education department, in the past year we've had 3 of our faculty publish books out of 17. We have 5 books that are either in press or in process. We've had 6 papers published. We have 15 papers in press or publication. And so we do a fair amount of research, but most of it's practical. And unlike many universities, our primary responsibility is teaching. We teach 4 courses a semester. At Penn State, they teach 2, like the bigger schools, maybe 2 a semester, and then they do their research. But our focus has always been teaching and advising. We do a lot of advising. Most of us have about 40 to 50 advisees that we meet with throughout the semester. Always ready for registration time. But we've got, you know, as chair, I'm proud of our faculty, but good faculty. If you added up our combined number of years at Millersville, it could be well into the hundreds, maybe probably over 200. So I'm proud of us, and I think we have done a pretty good job, especially with all the transitions that have been happening. Is there anything else you want to know before you?
When will the students learn who their advisors are?
They will get, probably that will, I have to make those assignments by August 1st. And so typically orientation week, they find out their advisor, and they're encouraged to meet, call them, email them. In the meantime, I'm the advisor for all the new transfers and all the new admits. And I don't even know if you've heard my name. I'm Dr. Christine Anthony, and I am the chair of the Elementary and Early Childhood Education Department. So if you should need anything before they get their permanent advisor. And they are assigned an advisor, and they keep that advisor for all 4 years, unless the person, you know, leaves or takes leave of absence. Or if your child says, you know, this isn't working with this advisor, there's a form they can fill out to ask to change advisors. So it doesn't happen very often, but if they should want to change advisors, they're able to do that. Is there anything else I can answer for you? Where do you get to go next? What's next on your agenda? Choices. Choices, all right. I gave you a choice. That's good educational practice. Let me give you my phone number. Actually, this will get you to my secretary. It's 717-872-3922. So if you should find you forgot something or need anything, just give me a call, and I'll do my best to answer. We look forward to having, you're a new admit, you're coming in, and we look forward to having you, and we look forward to having your children.